Fish number one, king mackerel. Let me tell you something about king mackerel. On the surface, it looks like a sleek, delicious catch. But once you dive into the details, you start to see the red flags waving. King mackerel is one of those fish that carries a reputation, and not in a good way. It's at the top of the list when it comes to mercury content. And for older adults, mercury isn't just a buzzword. It's a real, serious concern. See, mercury tends to sneak into our systems without us even realizing it. And with age, our body's ability to detoxify starts to slow down. So if I'm someone who's already watching my memory, my coordination, and my heart health, the last thing I want to do is add mercury to the mix. This heavy metal can silently affect the brain, potentially contributing to confusion, mood changes, or memory problems. And don't even get me started on its effects on the heart. Here's what blew my mind. A single serving of king mackerel can pack more mercury than most people should consume in an entire week. It's like eating a plate of fish that comes with a side of brain fog. And I'm not exaggerating. This fish is so high on the mercury scale that pregnant women and children are advised to completely avoid it. So if they're staying away, why should older adults even take the risk? What's tricky is that king mackerel isn't always labeled clearly. Sometimes it's just called mackerel on a restaurant menu or seafood counter, and that makes it easy to mix up with safer types like Atlantic or Spanish mackerel. But trust me, if you're older and trying to eat clean and stay sharp, king mackerel should not be on your plate. There are better, safer, and tastier options out there that won't compromise your health. Now, I'm not saying fish is bad, far from it, but knowing which ones to avoid is just as important as knowing which ones to eat. And king mackerel is definitely one of those you want to keep at arm's length, especially if you're looking to stay energized, mentally sharp, and inflammation-free. Fish number two, tilefish. Here's another one that raises all kinds of red flags, tilefish. At first glance, it might sound exotic, even fancy, something you'd imagine on a trendy seafood menu or a coastal bistro special. But don't let that fool you. Tilefish is actually one of the absolute worst offenders when it comes to mercury contamination. If mercury toxicity were a royal family, tilefish would be right up there as the sneaky cousin of king mackerel, silently dangerous and frequently flying under the radar. What's tricky about tilefish is that it doesn't give away any clues when you bite into it. It has a mild, flaky texture that's pretty appealing and lacks that fishy taste that usually warns us something's off. But lurking beneath that pleasant flavor is a toxic cocktail of mercury that can slowly, insidiously build up inside your body. For older adults, this is especially troubling because our neurological systems become more vulnerable with age, and mercury has a knack for targeting the brain and nervous system, causing problems like memory lapses, mood swings, tremors, and even sleep disturbances. Tilefish live deep in the ocean and have long lifespans, sometimes reaching 10 to 15 years or more. This gives them ample time to bioaccumulate mercury from their environment. Unlike smaller fish that metabolize and shed contaminants more quickly, tilefish act like sponges, soaking up and storing mercury in their flesh over many years. So every time you eat tilefish, you're ingesting a concentrated dose of that toxic metal, which over time can overwhelm your body's detox systems. If you're someone with cardiovascular concerns, high blood pressure, or even diabetes, tilefish should be an automatic red flag. Mercury exposure has been linked to increased risks of heart disease, irregular heartbeat, and hypertension. Plus, if you're taking medications that tax your liver or kidneys, organs responsible for filtering toxins, mercury becomes even more dangerous. Your body struggles to eliminate it, letting the toxin accumulate and amplify its harmful effects. One of the biggest problems with tilefish is how often it slips under the radar. It's not as famous as swordfish or tuna when it comes to mercury warnings, and sometimes it's not even clearly labeled on menus or fish markets. Instead, it can be lumped in with generic white fish categories or mislabeled to make it sound more appealing. That's why knowledge and vigilance are so critical. If you're not paying close attention, you might be unknowingly exposing yourself or your loved ones to this hidden threat. What really surprised me was how tilefish is often recommended as a healthy seafood option due to its lean protein content and mild taste. But the reality is, no amount of protein or culinary appeal can make up for the risks it poses, especially to seniors who need to be extra cautious about heavy metals in their diets. There are plenty of fish out there that offer similar nutritional benefits without the mercury risk. Think of fish like wild-caught salmon, which is packed with omega-3s and typically low in mercury. Or consider cod and haddock, which are delicious, versatile, and have much safer contaminant profiles. These alternatives provide all the heart and brain health benefits you want from seafood without the lurking danger. So if you're serious about protecting your cognitive function, cardiovascular health, and overall wellness as you get older, it's best to keep tilefish off your menu altogether. It might seem like a small choice, but avoiding high-mercury fish like tilefish is one of the smartest decisions you can make to reduce your toxic load and support long-term vitality. In conclusion, tilefish may look like a harmless, even elegant fish, but it's a stealthy mercury carrier that's not worth the risk, especially if you want to keep your mind sharp and your body resilient. Choosing seafood wisely isn't just about flavor, it's about safeguarding your health every bite of the way. Fish number 3, swordfish. All right, let's talk swordfish. At first glance, swordfish seems like the epitome of elegance in the seafood world. Thick, juicy steaks with a rich, slightly sweet flavor that you'd expect to find at a fine dining restaurant. It's the kind of fish people often choose to celebrate special occasions, thanks to its impressive size and hearty texture. But here's the thing. Behind that gourmet image lies a serious health caution, especially for older adults. Swordfish is what you might call a mercury heavyweight. Because swordfish are large, long-lived predators, they spend decades cruising the ocean depths, accumulating mercury as they go. Mercury pollution, primarily from industrial waste and coal-burning power plants, settles into the water and is absorbed by tiny marine organisms. These small creatures get eaten by bigger fish, which in turn get eaten by bigger fish, like swordfish. By the time mercury reaches these top-level predators, its concentration is magnified many thousands of times compared to the water they swim in. The result? Swordfish often contain mercury levels that can exceed 1 part per million, ppm, and sometimes reach alarming levels above 1.5 ppm, which is well beyond the safe limits recommended by health authorities. For older adults, the stakes are particularly high. As we age, our liver and kidneys, our body's natural detoxification systems, become less efficient at filtering out toxins. This means mercury accumulates more readily, posing a risk to the nervous system, cardiovascular health, and cognitive function. Chronic mercury exposure is linked to symptoms like tremors, blurred vision, difficulty concentrating, memory loss, and mood disorders such as depression and anxiety. In some cases, mercury toxicity can worsen existing neurological conditions or mimic diseases like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, making diagnosis tricky. Despite these risks, swordfish often enjoys a reputation as a healthy protein source on restaurant menus and diet plans. It's high in protein and omega-3 fatty acids, which are great for heart health and inflammation reduction. But this benefit can quickly be overshadowed by the potential harm of mercury poisoning if eaten too frequently or in large quantities. For people managing heart disease, diabetes, or cognitive impairments, mercury exposure is an added burden they simply don't need. Sustainability is another concern. Swordfish populations have been overfished in some parts of the world, leading to stricter fishing regulations and conservation efforts. Choosing swordfish from responsible sources certified by organizations like the Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, can help support ocean health, but that doesn't change the mercury issue. So what's the takeaway? Enjoying swordfish as an occasional treat is fine for most people, but it should never be a daily or weekly staple, especially for seniors or anyone vulnerable to mercury's effects. Safer, lower mercury alternatives like cod, haddock, wild salmon, or even farmed trout offer delicious flavors and the same protein benefits without the heavy metal risk. Plus, these fish are often more sustainably sourced, so they're kinder to the environment too. In short, swordfish may look gourmet and taste fantastic, but it's a neurological landmine lurking on your plate, especially if you're aiming to keep your mind sharp and your body healthy as you age. Making informed seafood choices isn't just about taste, it's about protecting your long-term health. So swap that swordfish steak for a safer, equally tasty option and give your brain and body the care they deserve. Fish number 4, big-eye tuna. When I first encountered big-eye tuna, I was instantly drawn to its rich, meaty texture and deep, bold flavor that sets it apart from many other types of tuna. It's a star in sushi bars and upscale restaurants worldwide, often served as delicate sashimi, beautifully seared steaks, or even in poke bowls. Its vibrant red flesh and buttery mouthfeel make it a favorite for seafood lovers seeking something substantial and satisfying. But while Big Eye Tuna's culinary appeal is undeniable, there's an important health aspect that often flies under the radar: its mercury content. Big Eye Tuna is a large predatory fish, and as with many apex predators, it accumulates mercury in its tissues over time. Mercury enters the ocean mainly through industrial pollution and then magnifies up the food chain, a process called biomagnification. The longer and larger the fish, the higher the mercury levels tend to be. Research shows that Big Eye Tuna mercury levels can range from 0.9 to 1.4 parts per million ppm, which is significantly higher than many other common fish like salmon or sardines. To put that in perspective, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, recommends limiting consumption of fish with mercury levels above 0.3 parts per million for sensitive populations such as older adults and pregnant women. For older adults, this is especially important. As we age, our body's natural ability to detoxify and excrete harmful substances diminishes. Mercury is a potent neurotoxin that can accumulate silently in the brain and nervous system over years or even decades. Prolonged exposure can contribute to cognitive decline, memory problems, mood disturbances, and motor function difficulties, effects that can exacerbate age-related neurological conditions like dementia or Parkinson's disease. So while Big Eye Tuna may taste amazing, regular consumption poses a real, cumulative health risk. What makes this tricky is Big Eye Tuna's popularity and availability. It's found not only on sushi menus, but also in canned tuna products labeled as ahi or yellowfin, and as steaks in grocery stores. This widespread presence can tempt people into eating it frequently without realizing the potential mercury exposure. For those who love Big Eye Tuna, the key is moderation. Enjoy it occasionally rather than as a staple. Limiting intake to once a month or less is a safer approach. Fortunately, there are great alternatives that provide similar flavors and textures, but with lower mercury levels. Skipjack tuna, often used in canned light tuna, has mercury concentrations typically well below 0.3 parts per million, making it a safer choice for everyday consumption. Albacore tuna, which is usually labeled as white tuna, falls somewhere in between and should be eaten less frequently than skipjack. Besides mercury concerns, sustainability is another factor to consider. Big Eye Tuna stocks have faced pressure from overfishing, making it essential to look for responsibly sourced options certified by organizations like the Marine Stewardship Council, MSC. Sustainable fishing practices help protect ocean ecosystems and ensure we can enjoy these fish for generations to come. In summary, Big Eye Tuna is a delicious, luxurious seafood choice that can be part of a healthy diet if enjoyed thoughtfully. For older adults and others concerned about mercury, the best advice is to consume Big Eye Tuna in moderation and diversify your seafood intake with lower mercury options. This approach balances flavor, nutrition, and health while also supporting sustainable seafood practices. So next time you're at a sushi bar or seafood market, savor that Big Eye Tuna treat, but keep it as an occasional indulgence, not a daily habit. Your brain and body will thank you for it. Fish number 5, orange roughy. Orange roughy has long been a favorite among seafood lovers, prized for its delicate, mild flavor and flaky, tender texture that feels almost buttery on the palate. It's the kind of fish that often appears in elegant dishes, celebrated for its subtle sweetness and versatility. But despite its culinary appeal, orange roughy comes with some serious drawbacks that are easy to overlook if you're just thinking about taste. First and foremost is its high mercury content, a direct consequence of its incredibly long lifespan. Orange roughy can live up to 150 years, making it one of the oldest fish species consumed commercially. This extended lifespan means it has plenty of time to accumulate mercury in its body, leading to levels ranging from 0.57 to 1.00 parts per million. That places it firmly in the category of fish with elevated mercury, which can be risky, especially for older adults. From what I've observed, mercury is a heavy metal neurotoxin that accumulates slowly in the body over time. For seniors, who often face age-related neurological changes, mercury exposure can worsen symptoms like memory loss, mood swings, tremors, and problems with coordination and balance. These aren't minor issues. Mercury toxicity can seriously impact quality of life by increasing the risk of falls and cognitive decline. So when choosing seafood, it's not just about flavor, but also about protecting health. Beyond health concerns, orange roughy raises serious sustainability issues. This deep-sea fish grows slowly and matures late, making its populations especially vulnerable to overfishing. It takes decades for them to reproduce, so catching them faster than they can replenish leads to dramatic population drops. Many fisheries have seen steep declines in orange roughy numbers, resulting in strict quotas or outright bans in some regions. Given these risks, both to my health and the environment, I steer clear of orange roughy and opt for safer, more sustainable seafood choices. For those who want to enjoy fish without these risks, the best advice is to limit or avoid orange roughy altogether. Instead, look for more sustainable and lower mercury options, such as wild-caught salmon or farmed tilapia. These alternatives provide excellent sources of omega-3 fatty acids, vitamins, and protein, with much lower mercury levels and a smaller environmental footprint. Plus, they're widely available and versatile in cooking, making them great everyday choices. Also, consider the origin of your seafood. Certified sustainable labels like MSC, Marine Stewardship Council, or seafood guides from reputable organizations can help you make smarter, eco-friendly purchases. Diversifying your seafood intake is another smart strategy. It helps reduce the risk of mercury buildup and supports a broader range of marine life. At the end of the day, enjoying seafood is about balance. You want delicious, nutritious meals without compromising your health or the planet. So while orange roughy might look tempting on the menu, keeping these facts in mind can help you make choices that nourish you and protect marine ecosystems for generations to come. Fish number 6, Chilean sea bass. Chilean sea bass has become a superstar on menus worldwide, often praised for its luxuriously rich, buttery flavor and tender, flaky texture that melts in your mouth. It's the kind of fish that chefs love to feature in fine dining, often paired with decadent sauces and gourmet sides. But beneath all that culinary glamour lies a serious catch, both literally and figuratively. Chilean sea bass, also known as Patagonian toothfish, is notorious for its high mercury content, with some samples testing as high as 2.18 parts per million. To put that into perspective, the FDA recommends limiting mercury levels in fish to around 0.3 parts per million for the average consumer, and even lower for sensitive groups like older adults and pregnant women. So when you're biting into that silky fillet, you might be unknowingly exposing yourself to a significant mercury load. This is especially concerning for older adults because mercury is a heavy metal that accumulates in the body over time, targeting the nervous system and cardiovascular health. The neurological effects can include memory problems, tremors, and in severe cases, cognitive decline, issues that older adults are already vulnerable to. Mercury's impact on heart health is also well documented, with studies linking chronic exposure to increased risks of hypertension and heart disease. So indulging in Chilean sea bass too often might turn what feels like a luxury meal into a health gamble. But the concerns don't stop at mercury. Chilean sea bass has also become an environmental red flag. Its soaring popularity has driven overfishing, threatening wild populations, and upsetting delicate marine ecosystems. Because it lives in deep, cold waters near Antarctica and the southern oceans, it's particularly slow to reproduce, making it vulnerable to depletion. Moreover, seafood fraud is a real issue here. Some unscrupulous sellers label other fish as Chilean sea bass to fetch higher prices, misleading consumers, and complicating efforts to manage sustainable fisheries. So when you order this fish, there's a chance you might not even be getting the real deal, making it even harder to track your mercury exposure or environmental impact. If you love the taste and texture of Chilean sea bass, but want to avoid these risks, don't worry. There are safer and more sustainable alternatives. Fish like cod, haddock, or even halibut can provide a similar, flaky, mild-flavored experience without the heavy mercury burden or sustainability concerns. These options tend to come from more responsibly managed fisheries and have much lower mercury levels, making them a better choice for regular consumption, especially for older adults or anyone concerned about long-term health. It's also worth noting that cooking methods can affect your seafood experience. Grilling, baking, or steaming your fish instead of frying helps preserve nutrients and avoid unhealthy fats. Pairing fish with antioxidant-rich vegetables and whole grains can also support cardiovascular health, helping mitigate some risks linked to mercury exposure. So the takeaway here? While Chilean sea bass might seem like a luxurious indulgence, it's a choice that comes with hidden health and environmental costs. Moderation is key, and staying informed empowers you to enjoy seafood safely and sustainably. Always ask about sourcing, read labels carefully, and diversify your seafood choices to balance flavor, nutrition, and eco-consciousness. Fish number 7, escolar. Escolar, also known under the misleading nickname white tuna, might look innocent on your sushi plate, but this fish has a dark side that most diners don't know about. With its rich, buttery flavor and melt-in-your-mouth texture, it's often mistaken for premium cuts of albacore or even toro. But here's the kicker. Escolar isn't even tuna. It belongs to a completely different family and contains a hidden compound that has earned it the nickname the X-lax fish in culinary circles. That's because this fish is loaded with a naturally occurring wax ester called toxin, a substance the human body simply cannot digest. Unlike healthy omega-3 fatty acids, this oily compound bypasses the usual metabolic process and rushes through your digestive system, often with unpleasant consequences. And we're not talking about a little indigestion. For many people, even a modest portion of escolar can cause explosive, oily diarrhea, a condition sometimes referred to as carriorrhea. It can strike without warning, and it's not something anyone wants to deal with, let alone older adults who may already have delicate digestive systems. If you've ever eaten escolar and experienced mysterious stomach cramps or urgent bathroom runs shortly after, now you know why. The symptoms can kick in as soon as 30 minutes after eating, and in some cases, they've lasted over a day. The real danger is that many people don't even realize they're eating escolar. In sushi restaurants and seafood markets, it's sometimes intentionally mislabeled as white tuna or butterfish to make it sound more appealing. This deceptive labeling has become such a problem that several countries, including Japan and Italy, have banned the sale of escolar entirely. In the US, the FDA allows its sale, but recommends limiting portion sizes to no more than 6 ounces. Still, most health professionals advise steering clear of it altogether. And unlike some other fish on this list, the problem with escolar isn't about mercury, it's about the gut. While mercury accumulates slowly and affects the nervous system, toxin delivers a 1-2 punch to your stomach almost immediately. For seniors, that's a serious concern. Dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, and intestinal irritation are harder to recover from with age. One bad meal could trigger days of discomfort, especially for those managing gastrointestinal issues like IBS, diverticulitis, or acid reflux. There's also a social factor to consider. Imagine being at a family dinner, a cruise buffet, or a business lunch and suddenly needing to run to the bathroom without warning. It's not just inconvenient, it's embarrassing. No one wants a fish dish to become a public spectacle. That's why it's critical to read labels, ask questions when dining out, and avoid mystery fish and sushi rolls. Thankfully, there are plenty of safer, more digestible alternatives out there. Mild white fish like cod, haddock, and sole offer a similar texture without the nasty side effects. Even sashimi lovers can enjoy responsibly sourced albacore or yellowtail without worrying about what might happen an hour later. In short, escolar might taste good going down, but the aftershocks aren't worth the risk, especially if you're prioritizing your health and comfort. So if you spot white tuna on the menu, think twice. That little sushi slice might come with a big regret. Fish number 8, blue marlin. Blue marlin is one of the most awe-inspiring fish in the ocean. Sleek, powerful, and known for putting up a fight that makes it a prized catch among deep-sea anglers. Its firm texture and rich, bold flavor make it a delicacy in high-end restaurants, especially in regions where grilling or smoking is part of the culinary tradition. But beneath its trophy status lies a very real health concern. As a long-lived apex predator, blue marlin spends decades at the top of the food chain, feeding on smaller fish that may already be contaminated. Over time, it accumulates mercury at alarmingly high levels, often exceeding the recommended safety thresholds for human consumption. In fact, studies have shown that some samples of blue marlin contain mercury concentrations up to 1.2 parts per million, which is significantly above the FDA's action level of 1.0 parts per million. This poses a serious problem for older adults. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at detoxifying and eliminating heavy metals. Mercury doesn't just pass through, it lingers, particularly in fatty tissues in the brain. This is where things get scary. Chronic exposure, even in small, repeated doses, can lead to neurological symptoms like tremors, anxiety, memory problems, and cognitive decline. In some cases, it's even been linked to increased risk of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. So while a marlin steak might be a rare treat, it's definitely not a regular menu item for those who are health conscious. But here's the twist. Not all seafood lovers know this. Blue marlin doesn't show up often in casual conversations about mercury because it's not an everyday fish like tuna or salmon. Yet because of its size and age, it's often far more toxic. This is especially concerning for people who enjoy exotic or game fish without fully understanding the risks. It's also worth noting that most health organizations, including the EPA and FDA, advise pregnant women, children, and older adults to avoid fish like blue marlin entirely. If you're tempted by a marlin fillet on a fancy dinner cruise or while traveling abroad, it's wise to ask the chef for alternative options. Better choices include lower mercury fish like haddock, trout, or even farm-raised salmon, all of which offer solid protein and omega-3 benefits without the hidden dangers. Plus, choosing sustainable fish supports marine biodiversity and protects endangered species like the blue marlin from overfishing. It's a win-win. You protect your brain and help preserve one of the ocean's most iconic creatures. So while blue marlin may be a bucket list catch, it's best appreciated from a distance or mounted on a wall rather than on your dinner plate. Fish number 9, grouper. Grouper is a beloved choice in many coastal cuisines, prized for its mild flavor and thick, meaty texture that holds up beautifully to grilling, baking, and blackening. But while it might taste clean and comforting, there's a hidden concern lurking beneath the surface. Grouper, especially the larger and older ones, are high-level predators in their environment, meaning they feast on smaller, often contaminated fish for years. This positions them high on the mercury scale, with levels averaging around 0.4 parts per million. That might not sound like much, but it accumulates in the human body over time, especially in older adults whose systems eliminate toxins more slowly. Regular consumption can lead to mercury buildup, which has been linked to subtle yet serious health issues like fatigue, memory loss, mood swings, and even long-term cardiovascular and neurological damage. The danger with grouper is that the symptoms of mercury toxicity are often misattributed to aging or other conditions, so people continue to enjoy it without realizing the potential harm. While that lemon butter grouper fillet may seem irresistible, experts suggest limiting high mercury fish to once a month, if at all. That doesn't mean cutting grouper out entirely, but it does mean making smarter choices. For instance, red grouper typically contains less mercury than black or Goliath grouper. And if you're eating out, don't be afraid to ask your server what type of grouper is being served or where it was sourced from. Wild-caught isn't always safer. It depends heavily on the region, as fish from polluted waters may also contain other harmful toxins. At the grocery store or fish market, seek eco-certified or sustainably farmed options when possible. And balance your seafood intake by rotating grouper with safer, lower mercury fish like cod, tilapia, or snapper, which offers a similar flavor profile with less risk. Or try oily fish like sardines and mackerel, which are low in mercury and rich in omega-3s. Being mindful of your grouper consumption is not only essential for your health, it also helps reduce the strain on overfished species and supports healthier oceans. So the next time you're craving a seafood dinner, think twice before automatically reaching for the grouper. Your body and the planet will thank you. Choosing the right seafood can feel like walking a tightrope. On one side, you've got delicious flavor and amazing nutritional benefits, omega-3s, lean protein, and essential minerals. On the other side, hidden dangers like mercury, harmful additives, or even digestive disasters from certain fish. For older adults especially, that balance becomes even more important. As we age, our bodies become more sensitive to toxins, and our ability to process certain compounds can slow down. That means the fish you enjoyed freely in your 30s or 40s might now require a second thought. Big-eye tuna, orange roughy, Chilean sea bass, escaler, blue marlin, and grouper may sound gourmet, and they often are. But many of them come with serious health red flags. Whether it's the mercury overload, digestive issues, or just unpredictable quality, depending on where the fish was caught, the risks can outweigh the rewards. But here's the good news. You don't have to give up seafood entirely. There are safer, equally tasty options like salmon, sardines, trout, and haddock that not only support heart and brain health, but also come with far fewer concerns. And let's not forget, making the right seafood choice isn't just good for your body, it's a step towards sustainable fishing and ocean-friendly practices. So, what's the takeaway? Be picky, read the labels, ask questions at the seafood counter. Your health deserves that extra bit of attention, especially when it comes to something as important as the food you put on your plate. If this video helped you feel more confident about your seafood choices, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to our channel. We're committed to giving you smart, science-backed tips to keep your diet clean, your body strong, and your mind sharp. Because when it comes to your health, every bite counts. And we're here to help you make each one a good one.